mechs, loved by many, but hated by just as many. Discussion on their viability is split to say the least, but one running trend is people say one way or another, it still needs buffs, which I have to agree with at the end of the day, but that doesn't mean that what we have now doesn't have its uses. Let's get right to the chase. I'm going to mostly format this video like how I did my last one, with a brief stat overview into a to-the-point briefing on how to best use the mech variants on both fronts. Now, without further ado, let's get on to the video. As a general overview, the mechs in Helldivers 2 come in two variants. You have the Patriot exosuit armed with 14 rockets and a minigun with 1,000 rounds of freedom waiting to be hurled at the enemies of Super Earth. And the Emancipator, with dual double-barreled autocannons, both of which have 100 rounds. Their hull armor isn't bad either, with it having medium armor on the cheeks of the hull. Even though that sounds a little rough, the exosuit still has no problem shrugging off small arms fire and lower-end anti-tank weaponry. For example, on the Automaton front, both mechs can take multiple hails of rocket and blaster fire before finally going down. However, you very much are not invincible while in an exosuit. For starters, chargers, if they hit you right, can knock one of your arms off, cutting your firepower in half. Automaton tank cannons can one-shot you from any angle, and even Shredder tank autocannons can rip you apart if they hit the right angle on your armor. So you might be asking, how do we avoid getting ripped to pieces by heavier threats inside an exosuit? Well, it's the same logic when you are out of your exosuit. Cover and distance. A tank can't hit you when you are behind some sort of tree or hill, and a charger can't get to you so long as you keep your distance. However, some of you guys might want a more in-depth overview on the enemies you will mainly be facing, so like last time, I'll go over every faction how to best use the exosuit on those said factions. And just like last video, we will be starting with the bugs are mainly about positioning with the exosuit. If you get into a bad spot, you will get shredded by waves of chargers, so keeping the high ground and your distance against heavier foes will keep you safe. However, don't be afraid to dive right in if you only see a few heavier enemies in a bug nest or such, as both mechs can overwhelm even a bug breach with just how much firepower they bring. As a side note, only use them for big events such as pushing into a mega nest or if you need extra help with dealing with a massive bug breach. On bugs, mechs will run out of ammo far too quickly for them just to be thrown away on a pointless moment. As for what mech to bring, the Patriot is usually my go-to, but on blitz missions for getting bug holes quickly, the Emancipator is the far better option. Now, the next question. Where do I aim when fighting bugs? Well, simple. On chargers, you can aim for the head or the front leg. For impalers, wait for the head armor to go down, or you can sweep the front leg. On Bottle Titans, just aim for their heads until they go down. This goes for both exosuits. The one tip of advice to conserve ammo on the Patriot is after you blow off a charger's leg armor, you can just spray it down with the minigun, and it will die just as quickly as if you just fired an extra rocket at it. But anyway, onto the much harder faction, the I'm going to be blunt. Both mechs aren't too good on bots most of the time. In wide open areas, you are likely going to get picked off by one of the many tank cannons on the map, or a stray rocket from an armored strider. Another point against bringing them on automatons is the fact that the Patriot is basically useless, as most of the enemies on bots can't be killed with its minigun. Hulks, the top half of armored striders, and basic automaton tanks can't just get killed off unless flanked or you just get a lucky shot on them. Though this is the one front where the Emancipator can truly shine, with its weapons being able to take out anything you come across. Though its TTK can vary, it does have enough ammo and firepower to keep kicking for a short while. Though, as I pointed out, you are still just fodder for any tank cannons in the area, with teammates either ignoring them or just not telling you about their existence. It's basically just a lost cause, unless you're on a swamp or urban map. You see, mechs on bots require good cover to be used to their fullest, as that allows you to properly pick your fights and hit and run. So, map layouts that heavily favor the mech's maneuverability and firepower advantage, while still making its lack of heavy armor less of a problem, turn what should be a D tier at best stratagem to an all-round great pick. While you still have to watch your ammo, when you use the mech, it can still be great for assaulting a base, wiping out an oncoming wave you aren't prepared for, or just getting around deep waters of the swamp. And for cities, being able to tank a hail of rockets after turning a corner and quickly wiping out megafabs can be the one thing that shifts around in your favor. Though even with the Emancipator, you will run into issues facing some enemies. So as a quick refresher, let's go over the fastest ways you can turn the heavier bots into scrap metal, starting with the Automaton tank and all of its variants. They can be taken out easily by targeting the turret from any angle. Shredders and rocket tanks are notably easier to take down than normal ones, so taking out a heavy tank before going after them is usually the best play. For Hulks, hitting their eye is an easy way to put them down, However, it can get hectic on bots, so just hitting the general face area will bring them down quickly anyway. Striders, while they can kill you with one of their rockets, you can also just blindly fire at them and they will go down in a single shot or two. Automaton aircraft can also go down extremely easily. It only takes a few shots in one of their engines to snipe them out of the sky, and they're, for the most part, a non-threat. Now, time for the hardest enemy. Factory Striders. As an Emancipator, you like any way of killing them outright without using most of your ammo. So I'd recommend disabling them as much as possible, then going for the kill. First, target the massive cannon on their backs, as that will one-shot you or blow off a limb. Second, remove its chain guns under its head. Lastly, either use your rounds to break open its head armor, do some damage to its eye weak point, or Hail Mary yourself under it and try to do heavy damage to the Strider and the bots being deployed out of it. Now, for the next faction, we recently repeated. So, all this information is absolutely useless now, and there isn't much to cover anyway. But now, let's talk about the... So, the Illuminate kind of don't have anything to really talk about. Either of the mechs work on them. Just, destroy the shields on tripods with the minigun on the Patriot, and then hit them with rockets, but honestly, you don't even need to use rockets. You can just keep spraying the legs with the minigun, so there isn't really much tech to really talk about. They really are just a nothing burger when it comes to their faction in relation to how they work with mechs. You can walk through Voteless. That's pretty cool. But yeah, there really isn't anything to talk about. As you can tell, I didn't even get background footage for this because they disappeared right before I was going to start recording this video. And I really didn't get a chance to see if there was anything funny with them, so I could pad out this section with like a meme or something, but yeah, that's really just it. I hope this ends up aging extremely poorly when they come back. Like, they just end up having like some insane like interaction with the mechs or something. Or like you just have to, you know, really use them in a specific way to get them to work, so there's like, you know, actually something to talk about, but there isn't really any strategies needed for them. Kind of disappointing, really. So, you made it to the end of the video. Well, honestly, I applaud you for getting this far. A lot of this is really just disjointed ranting, at least to me it seems. These videos, I literally write the script like an hour beforehand, before actually saying the lines, so yeah. And even then the script is basically just kind of like a guideline type of thing. I don't really follow it to a T. But I honestly want to thank everyone who supported the last video, and even the negative comments. You know, just any exposure is good exposure, to me at least, as long as it's not like a crime or something. Anyway, yeah, just I want to thank everyone for watching this far, and apologize for the Illuminate section. I really did want it to be a big grand thing, but the more I realized and thought about it, it's just there wasn't really anything to talk about. Like I pointed out in that section, it's just kind of a nothing burger. But yeah, I'm gonna upload again Monday, and if this video felt rushed, it's because I kind of just threw together the editing like today on Sunday, so it's all been edited in one day. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you all next Monday.